Hi, everyone. Welcome to Sudbury Interviews. Today we have Richard Malette. And Richard is an astrologer based in Sudbury but serving the world. And just before we begin, we're going to be talking about his career and how he began in astrology. You can find us on sudstown.com and join the conversation. Hi, Richard. How you doing?
Hey, Danny, very happy to be here, man. So grateful for this opportunity.
Me too. I was thinking about you for a little while there, and I'm like, I have to get him, and I hope he says yes.
Yeah, super excited. And also, I'm not sure if I shared with you beforehand, but the timing of our call today, too, is really fascinating and really in sync with a powerful astrological change as well.
Uranus enters Gemini.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, you're down with all this stuff.
No, I'm not. I just because we had you sent it to me in a text, so I was going to ask you about that for sure. But before we get into that, can you tell us a little bit about your journey of to becoming an astrologer? Like, how far back does it go, and how did it start for you?
That is such a great question because, um, there's a few different ways I can answer this. I think in this lifetime, because we can think about past lives as well too, and I think I've done this before. That came to me as an awareness kind of early on in my journey with astrology in this lifetime, which was really started only in my mid 20s. I'm like other friends of mine who are really into astrology, kind of got into it earlier. For me, it was yeah, in my mid 20s after university, after traveling around and seeing other countries and other worldviews, and coming back to Canada and like wondering, okay, who am I really now, and what am I here for? And I think synchronicity brought me to meet an astrologer on the West Coast. I had moved to Vancouver, and that's when I first got introduced to astrology.
So you have a definite longing for this work.
Yeah, when I was into spirituality just before I got into astrology. So for me, those two are always intertwined, and I do feel that astrology is it's a sacred science, if you will, a sacred art form, and that's how I like to approach every reading that I do and every star note that I write as well too. It is very, very sacred. If you think, that the universe is alive, it's conscious, then the planets are agents of divine information that we can contact with and flow and help us to understand who we are. It was such a blessing and a gift when I got into astrology in my mid 20s.
So this helped you personally to overcome obstacles.
Yes, and it was just first and foremost just a powerful tool to help me understand my energy, my drives, my kind of emotions, and the fact that I have, for example, I'm a Taurus sun, which I knew that already, and just tapping deeper into that importance. And having the moon in Cancer, so knowing your moon sign is really critically important as well for your emotional happiness. So tuning into that and realizing how gentle that is and how loving it is and how caring it is, it really helped me to embrace that softer, gentler side of myself, for example.
So you're I'm a fan of your notes from the stars. You used to call it that, but now it's called star notes, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, when did that start? Because that's you've been putting that out every month or twice a month for how many years now? Consistently.
Thank you for honoring that. It is actually a labor of love, and I'm very consistent at it, twice a month, every new moon and full moon, at the very, very least. And gosh, yeah, that started around pretty early when I just got into Facebook, which was only around like 2012 or so.
You've been doing it for that long?
Something like that, yeah. And
Wow.
started teaching astrology courses for the first time around 2013, and it all kind of that was the next
Wow.
big step of my journey, if you will, was writing the notes from the stars at first, and then I condensed it to star notes. I think in 2020 when I launched my website, just to shorten those that title a little bit.
So you have a massive archive of your work, of your writing?
I do actually. I reflect on that, and I just felt like doing it. It just was always from the beginning, way back in the '90s, when I just felt this was my deeper soul calling. I just accepted my path, and was my responsibility to just be one channel among thousands of astrologers around the world that are all amazing. And in my humble way, what can I do? How can I contribute? And it just felt like writing. I do enjoy writing, and that just kind of evolved over the years. Again, really, since 2020, it really took off to a new level, I think. And my and people tell me, hey, we like it. So thanks again, Danny, for the feedback. It's for people who tell me that they like it that drives me to continue doing it.
Well, there's a lot of value to it. I hope you're reaching a very large audience with that because it's global. The information's not just for Sudbury, like it's for everyone. Everyone.
Yeah,
You
yeah, it's very exciting, to see it grow in my own Taurus way, spurts here and there, and it never when the Zoom revolution started, I just
know.
went onto Zoom a lot, and that really helped me to connect with people all over the world, which is really really cool.
So tell us about Uranus enters Gemini. That's today, right? This is a new,
Yeah, today.
we're going into a new dynamic kind of energy now, today.
Today is the official change of the planet Uranus that goes into a new sign right now, as of this morning, for the next 7 years. So it's
Oh,
anytime the outer planets, meaning Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, change signs, they are so far away from the sun, and they just take a much longer time to go around the sun, and so they take longer through the signs. Unlike the sun and the moon, which change signs very frequently, right, throughout the month. The sun once a month, and the moon goes through the entire zodiac every month. But it takes Uranus 7 years, for example, to change signs or to get into a new sign. So when it does kind of like Neptune, which also changed signs earlier this year. It's connecting with like shock waves of change around the world that even people who are not into astrology, I think, can feel on some level. Like it's very profound. Uranus is all about. I actually got so many kind of new ideas from my next star notes about this. So I'm really deep in it, the reflection and the observations of the advancements of all kinds of communication technology, AI, how we think and how we use our voice and our words. It's going to be amplifying more and more. So it's a very significant, and I think for this one here, the vibe feels very exciting.
great. So
Yeah.
there's factual things, right? Like numbers and moon cycles and whatnot, but there must also be a lot of intuition for you to be able to write the way you do and kind of read between the lines of all of that.
Yeah, you're very intuitive yourself, Danny, and I love that question because that goes to one of the reasons why I love astrology is because it satisfies my whole brain and heart and soul and spirit. There is a logical side, there is some cycles and rhythms that are very well known, and there is like a kind of rational, logical approach sometimes to understanding these things. But there is definitely an intuitive part. Like, what does it all mean, all those symbols and numbers, right? So I think that just kind of kicks in naturally over time. Just like with an artist, as an artist, you develop an intuitive kind of feeling or just something comes to you sometimes. And I think flowing with that kind of our intuitive state of mind is a really nice place to be in as well. And just today, actually, it happens often when I'm not thinking about it, that just the inspiration just comes. And I just channeled a few sentences today, actually, in my journal just before you called.
So there was one night I was downtown playing a gig at Peddler's Pub. I'm a musician, and the bouncer who was working the door, he said, "Everybody's going kooky tonight because it's a full moon." And I said, what do you mean? He said, oh man, he says it happens every time. Like people want to fight, they want to, they just act more crazy. So what can you tell us about that? The full moon, what is it? What's going on with that?
Oh, the full moon. Well, that's a great story, by the way, and I love it because it's really just more proof, more anecdotal evidence that so many people from all kinds of, places and occupations, police officers, nurses, doctors who work in healthcare, like they have known this for a very, very long time too. When the moon is full, basically because the moon symbolizes emotional power, emotional instincts, and emotional intelligence, the full moon is the peak phase of the emotional expression of that lunar cycle. So emotions are always strong, not always, and people, I think, feel it in different ways. And I think some people are more sensitive to it than others. But everyone feels it on some level of consciousness. But yeah, there's just so much evidence that people are really acting out sometimes unconscious emotional instincts inside of them. It's usually unconscious stuff that boils up to the surface at a full moon that needs some kind of emotional release or expression. So the invitation is, I think, from the higher working with the moon is to really consciously feel and express, in a creative way or a productive way or a non-violent way, at the very least.
Yeah, and that was coming from, for lack of a better word, like a regular Joe, big dude, bouncer, not a spiritual guy or a person that you would think is spiritual. Maybe he is, but he doesn't show it. Like, I mean, for somebody like that to say something that profound, it must be universal. It must be, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it's universal. I mean, and you look at the literature across the world for thousands of years, across cultures. The moon is a central figure in art, in literature, in movies, and in our psyche. The full moon, especially, it's just hardwired into our brains and souls and hearts as being very important, to our life. Like imagine a world without any emotions. I wouldn't want to live in a world like that. So, and it's beautiful. And following its cycle from new moon to full moon, and then the waning cycle again, it's just a beautiful thing to follow. And I've been kind of following the moon for a long time, and I think I feel like going deeper into like moon rituals and like honoring every phase of the moon, and maybe even doing a program about that coming up soon.
Do you remember when I went to you to have my birth chart reading? It was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, briefly, I have little moments, and I remember really enjoying it, and I remember you saying you really enjoyed it too, and it just flew by very, very quickly, and it was super fun.
Yeah, well, what I remember from it the most was that you somehow knew me better than I knew myself. And that was very, very distinct for me. It was like, okay, this person knows me profoundly by reading the numbers of my birthday and whatever. And so that was pretty intense, pretty impactful for me. And I think it's extraordinary that you're able to do that, Richard. And
Wow, thank you. I appreciate that so much. The feedback that I get during sessions as well too. Again, is the fuel that keeps me doing this. And there's something very, very magical in the one-on-one meeting that happens. And I think different astrologers work with astrology in different ways. And I've really just more consciously noticed in the last few years that my particular one of my particular superpowers, if you will, because, we all have superpowers and it's important for us to own them and honor them. And your chart really helps you to see those superpowers more just really quickly, right? I reminded you of yours, I'm sure. And for me, it's built on the moon in Cancer for me in the seventh house, which is the house of one-on-one connection. So when I meet someone, I become very empathic and very intuitive in that session too. So the energies merge. I always pray and have the intention for the best reading for both of us. And if I can say one more thing.
you can say as many things as you want. This is your interview. I'm here for you.
Awesome, man. I love it. I find more and more that it's, and I say that at the beginning of a session, that it's a co-creative experience. Just, you showing up, open mind, open heart, and myself and the planets and our guides, are all here, so we co-create the reading together more and more. And I feel like I love thinking that way for a reading.
Well, you know how we all have problems, right? And people think, well,
Yeah.
I got to go to a counselor, I got to go to a therapist, I need a doctor, I need a psychic medium, I need all these things. Well, I would highly recommend a birth chart reading because it's not something that's a common um, thought with, oh, I need some help. It's not a common thought to think I should go get a birth chart reading, but for me, it was extremely helpful, and it was beyond what some other people could have done for me because it had a basis in the spiritual components of the genetic makeup of you, you know? So,
Yeah. Yeah. Um, oh gosh, well, and I know you're very spiritual too, and I think that's cool to talk about that. I think it's important to talk about spirituality, just as important as it is our money or our values or anything else. And yeah, so that's very, very strong in you. And I would honestly say I just appreciate your thoughts so much, Danny, because I truly believe that everyone would benefit from knowing their birth chart. Everyone.
yeah, I concur with that. So, what's the difference between astronomy and astrology, or are they the same?
Okay, wow, another great question. I just want to finish one thought though before I go. Is that the birth chart? Just a quick note about what is the birth chart. It's a map of the exact positions of all the planets, in space at the moment of your birth and location of your birth. And it's a unique moment in time, never repeated. And a lot of people think that we're kind of alone in this world, and there's no kind of roadmap to help us. Well, the birth chart is that roadmap. It's a guide, it's a map to remind you who you are, all of your talents and challenges, and your soul journey in so many ways. So there's so many benefits to knowing your birth chart. And astrology and astronomy, a few centuries ago, I forget exactly like what year, but sometime in the 16th or 17th century, like before then, astronomy and astrology was the same. There was no separation. So it was in the age of enlightenment when the whole I think, therefore I am, the mind of the rational scientific brain started to separate from the more kind of intuitive mind, and then there was a shift and a division. So we essentially look at the same things. I think astronomers have very sophisticated devices, so they really see the universe through telescopes, which are so wonderful to really give us a glimpse that we can really see what's going on in the mechanics of the cosmos. But that's where some astronomers, I think, become astrologers or more spiritual. But the difference is that astrology looks for the meaning of that. What is that meaning for us, and how can that help me understand myself, understand my place in the universe? I think that's one of the biggest differences.
Right, and you classify yourself as an astrologer.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Astronomy. I can name some constellations out there, but it's really I'm focusing on the astrology for sure. And for me, the sun and the moon and the planets in our solar system,
Yeah,
that's my ball game. That's my wheelhouse there.
beauty.
Yeah, it's a passion, and so I love it, and I think it's important to honor the history of astrology, and that the astronomy is built in with astrology. It really is the one and the same, and perhaps one day, I'm not sure when, but they'll merge again and they'll reunite, and having that rational understanding of the mechanics of the universe with, quantum mechanics and spirituality and meaning. And I think it's coming more and more as people kind of awaken themselves to how truly multidimensional they are. I think it's just happening more and more.
Were there any markers that could have predicted the corona thing that we all went through? Any type of stuff going on in the energies that could have pointed towards a big thing like that?
Yes, okay, we're going deep, and I appreciate that.
Well, I
Thank
know
you
it's a
for
while ago, but I needed an example that was worldwide, like a big example, and that's the most recent
yeah,
one I can think of.
that was massive, and the world really is not the same. And I think that was the event of our lifetimes that really is catapulting us into a new era. One of the many most important ones for sure. And it did connect to a very powerful astrological transit. In March of 2020, Pluto aligned with Saturn in the sign of Capricorn. So Pluto aligned with Saturn, every 30 some years. So that wasn't super, super rare. But the fact
Right.
that they aligned in Capricorn made it much, much more unique. And Capricorn is a sign of control and responsibility and authority. And the Pluto's passage through Capricorn for many years, from 2008 to just a couple of years ago, one of the things Pluto does is reveal the shadow, is reveal the
Oh,
undercurrent.
really?
Yeah. So we
That-
saw the underbelly of power and control and authority versus the opposite, the urge for freedom and independence. And that kind of summarizes
Wow.
very quickly the dynamic that we experienced in 2020.
Yeah, that
And for years afterwards, it's still ongoing.
wow, you just blew me away there with that shadow thing because I feel that is what happened too. We got to see the sort of dark side of you know of what people are capable of, I guess, you know.
I think because I'm an eternal optimist and I always see the silver lining, the gold lining, and like the deeper messages or the blessings. I think it's important to train our mind to see that, to focus on something positive or just a different perspective at all times, to not only accept one perspective or one narrative, for example. And that played out a lot in 2020, 2021, 2022. But yeah, profound energies. And I think that Pluto, just come back to Pluto for a second, it also symbolizes power and passion and purpose and death and rebirth and transformation as well. So that was a very, very powerful. And the fact that that year, 2020, Jupiter came along and also danced with Pluto and Saturn at the same time. So those three, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto, were all together in the sky in late Capricorn. And again, was very, very rare. And Saturn is about structures and systems, and Pluto's the deep underbelly of that. And Jupiter came along and is a planet that just blows things up. It's a big planet. It enhances, it optimizes, it expands whatever it comes into contact with. So it expanded all of those energies big time. And but the advantage was, I think, one of them was to see, as you just pointed out too, how just more clearly the darkness, the corruption that really has been there for a long time. But we're seeing it more clearly now.
Ancient.
Yeah. Well, some would say that's our entire history. Is this dynamic between freedom and control and
Yeah.
enslavement? It's a deep, dark subject. Not everyone wants to talk about it, but I think it's important that we do open our eyes more to really see the fight that's been going on, as you say, forever. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to move on to the daily segment, and this is a question I ask every guest. I think you're the sixth one, and the question is, what is one thing that you feel would make Sudbury greater?
Oh, wow. One thing that would make Sudbury greater. Hmm. Oh my God, what a great question. I think the answer that's coming to me right now is just that in the consciousness of Sudburyans, right, our identity as a person living in Sudbury, because that's not our only identity, but in this kind of reality of identifying and connecting with the area that we live in, this land, Sudbury, and this culture. I do love that it's a bilingual culture. Je suis bilingue moi aussi, and I love that about Sudbury. And I think just to honor and have more self-love for this land and for this culture and this area and this, to really enhance our self-love as Siberians more. There's more love, more joy, more passion for where we live in this wonderful city of Sudbury.
Beautiful. Perfect. Wow. Good job.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a great question.
Yeah, we're getting some
Thank you.
varied responses too. It's really neat. Really neat to hear what people have to say about that.
That's awesome.
Sudbury interviews, everyone. Thanks again, Richard, for your insight. I know your business used to be called Insight Astrology, now Richard Malette Astrology. And where can we find you if we want to look you up? Where can somebody start with that?
Thank you. Yes, I rebranded in 2020. Believe it or not, I kind of flew slightly under the radar for many years, and I had that name Inside Astrology, but no website. So that was my project in 2020, was to create a website for the first time. And I decided to rebrand myself and kind of own my name more, empower myself through my name. So yeah, richardmaletteastrology.com on the website, Facebook as well, Richard Malette Astrology, or Richard and Malette, my private Facebook, and Instagram, richard.malette8. On Instagram, that's something I want to explore more as well too. So yeah, that's how you can find me.
Excellent. Thank you again for coming on the show. Really appreciate it on behalf of me and everyone else who listens to this.
Thank you so much, Danny. That was a blast. I can't believe it's already over. That was so much fun.
They fly by when it's interesting material. It just zooms by, and I try to keep them at half an hour for logistical reasons and uploading and whatnot. But you're more than welcome to come back anytime in the future. We'll talk some more.
I'm honored. Thank you so much, and I will. Big hug, my brother Danny. Thanks again so much.
All right, take care. Bye.
Take care. Bye.